Hi, my name is Zelman Ainsworth. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of APTV. Today, I'm interviewing a superwoman. Her name is Lisa Shalem. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's a general manager of a $100 million business, and she dominates the market. She runs a business called Shoes and Socks, 90 retail stores all over the country, virtually no competitors, and a complete domination of the entire kids' footwear. Lisa's going to talk through the entire journey of running a family business with her parents and then selling it to private equity and growing it into what it is today. There's a lot of good learnings and understandings of what good retailers do, how they passionately live through their business through care, love, and detail to grow it into a success. I really hope you enjoy this interview as much as I did. Do you think online sales should be included in shopping center turnover rents?
What a way to start.
Well, hello.
Hello.
It's a very contentious point now. Everyone's talking about it. Landlords want turnover rents. Retailers don't want it, but they also don't want to pay rents. Something's got to give. What's your views on landlords taking your turnover rents, taking your online sales as part of turnover rents?
You know what? It's so complex, right? I understand that the truth is, from a landlord's perspective, we are servicing those sales from store. So conceptually, they are being made.
The online sales.
The online sales, if they ship from store. Yeah. Online sales are generated from lots of sources. A lot of them these days are generated from in-store stock. Mm-hmm. So to some extent, you are generating them in store. So I can get why landlords want those to be sent, to be included in turnover leases. But at the same time, the shopping centers aren't generating the traffic that is driving those sales. That is being generated by your online store. And so that is the argument for not including them. So obviously, as a retailer, I don't want them included because I'm looking to pay as a sustainable level of rent. But I can see the argument for both.
What's your opinion?
My opinion is that they should not be included.
And why?
Because ultimately the source of that traffic is online. The retailers ourselves are paying for the costs associated with servicing those sales, for the stationery, for the labor. And I guess what we pay the landlord for is for the traffic, and they aren't generating this traffic.
There's a conception that online sales are virtually free because you're not paying rent, and the cost of a sale in store is very expensive. Is that true?
No, absolutely not. Online sales are very expensive. First of all, you've now got Facebook, Google, Instagram, which are almost monopolies, and from a social and digital marketing perspective, costs of digital and social marketing costs are massive and increasing as people are getting better and more competitive at bidding for them. So that's the huge cost of an online sale. And also postage is an incredibly large cost, and also getting bigger as inventory is being sourced and shipped from more locations. So when we were operating only from our DC, that's one shipment. Now we're operating from stores. Customers are coming, buying 5 pairs across 5 different stores. That's 5 different postages. Postage is a huge cost, and the service providers have a huge amount of power, so it's very hard to negotiate. So no, they've got different costs, and as a direct route, possibly online is still more profitable, but it is still kind of high cost and increasing.
What percentage of your sales for Shoes and Socks is done online?
It depends how you look at that number. We've got Shoes and Socks. We also run kids footwear in Myers so we manage all of their in-store kids footwear and also their online kids footwear, and then we run all the kids footwear for the Iconic, and that doesn't have a store portfolio. So in combination, it would be about 20%, which is quite astronomical given that we are a service-based business. I mean, 3 years ago it would have been 5%. And during COVID, obviously, and the last 12 months is probably slightly higher than that, but yeah, it's high, really high.
So it's a family business?
Was a family business.
Your family?
Yes.
Started in 1987 in Westfield, Chatswood?
Correct.
And now there is over 90 stores, 2,000 staff, and close to $100 million of revenue?
Correct.
That's an amazing story.
It is an amazing story.
Is that a lot of pressure for you to outdo your parents?
No, I don't think it's a pressure to outdo my parents. My parents sold the business when we sold the business to Anchorage.
Has a lot changed in the dynamics of the business when that happened?
Massively. In 2010 when I joined the business, we weren't computerized. We didn't have a POS system. We were still faxing sales sheets to the big warehouse that we operated from, which I loved. We all loved. We didn't have an online store. We didn't have retail, really proper retail infrastructure. What we did have, what my parents were phenomenal at, was product. We had phenomenal product, and we had and also an understanding of customer and what customer experience needed to be like. We were kind of always, I believe, quite like visionary in that sense. And so, you know, I was from 2010 to 2015, I guess I worked with my dad predominantly in computerizing, modernizing, updating, and then selling the business. And that was a great, I guess, learning experience for me. But also, you know, in 2015, I just had my second child. I was a young mom. I wasn't ready to have all the pressure of taking my parents' legacy and running it by myself. So the decision to sell, I guess, was a good one, was logical for all of us. And has it been good or bad? I think for me personally, it's been outstanding. It's hard. Family businesses are complex. Like, I'm really close to my family, really respect them.
For your dad?
Well, I don't anymore. I haven't since 2015.
What was it like when you did, though?
It was really hard. I mean, we clashed a lot. We both had really strong opinions and really strong personalities, and they were quite different. He was much more conservative than I am, and I'm much more risk-taking. He is much more old school than I am. I think, you know, I'm an accountant, and I computerized the business. I helped like put in the policies. I was always clear that I could do that, but I don't think either of us really knew whether I could lead the business. And I think I had to come out of the best thing that's happened to me is coming out of the family business into having it, you know, having all of that myself and being able to kind of, you know, sink or swim effectively and learn what I'm capable of.
So what have you learned about yourself throughout that journey?
I've learned that I wish I would have been more confident in myself in my 20s. And that I really think that overall we've got an issue in, like, you know, all of my friends and all the people, now I look at all these young women and I think I just wish you had more confidence. That's the main thing I've learned. You know, I couldn't stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to do this until I was forced to. My parents left. We were bought by this big conglomerate. We run in Sydney, they were run in Melbourne. I had all these, we had 25 stores at the time, so it was still a much smaller business then, 25 small stores, a tiny online store. But I had all these managers that I could just see were looking at me desperately. They'd worked for my parents, like most of my managers have been with us for 10 to 20 years. They'd worked with my parents forever. They couldn't envisage being in a professional organization, and I had to stand up and be like, I'm going to get you guys through that. And I think, you know, it was eye-opening because in hindsight, you know, in that meeting, I kind of stood up there and the first time I had like a manager's meeting, I stood up there and I talked about our purpose and what our purpose is and how we're going to be true to our purpose. And then like 2 years later when we had another meeting, I stood up and I said, you know what, it's interesting because really what I should have said in that meeting is our purpose is just to survive. We're going to survive until I know the fuck what I'm doing, excuse that. And then but actually, not only did we survive, we managed to retain a huge amount of who we were and just expand that as we needed to survive, because a 90-store business is different to a 25-store business. We went into Maya. We didn't have a Maya business, any relationship with Maya before. As it happens, Maya's customers buy completely different shoes and completely different price points, so we had to come up with a private label. We always had a private label brand, but it was really small. Suddenly we had a business that required 100% private label. We had to start doing much more product development. Didn't exist. Then we went on the Iconic. There's a different customer there. They're much more fashion forward. You know, the whole of retail has shifted. It's gone from being like bricks and mortar and promotions and staff and teams, which are still critical, but now you've got this online digital persona, which, you know, retailers didn't have to. 5 years ago, digital persona wasn't relevant. Now it suddenly is. How do you look on social? How do you present to the world? How many stars do you have? All these things are just not things that my father ever thought about or I ever did. So it's about, I've learned that I can do it. And that my team can do it. Like, I've got a ridiculously amazing team, and they have all been with me since the day we separated in 2015. That's probably the best thing that's what I'm the most proud of.
What's your role?
General manager, so I run everything to do with shoes and socks.
And what was your purpose 2 years ago?
My purpose was to be I can't remember the exact slogan, and actually we didn't come up with one. We got everyone gave their views, but it was effectively about really focus on customer and to be, I guess, a place that services all customers in a way that is engaged and authentic. But and that is still our purpose from a customer perspective, but really at that time, I was trying to launch a purpose just to try and steady the ship, but actually it was too, and it did steady the ship, but actually looking back, it was really my purpose was just to integrate the back offices. And, you know, we moved all of we no longer have a warehouse. I mean, we have a warehouse obviously, but it's no longer in our offices. We moved our warehouse into the bigger Brands Collective warehouse in Victoria. You know, we had to integrate all of our IT and our infrastructure. We then took on Myers, which was 40 stores in one day. We had to grow our team, you know, proportionately. So really it was just like there was so much growth. It was about just navigating through the growth and trying to hold intact whatever we could of who we were. That should have been, and that was the purpose. And we did it, but I couldn't at the time see that as being the purpose. It's only in hindsight that I could be like, that was the purpose.
In Australia, you guys dominate the kids' shoes business. How has a family business managed to dominate the entire market for so long?
First of all, we're not a family business anymore. And really that was breaking away from the family business was a defining moment in terms of being able to grow, because we, as a family business, we had 25 stores, I think, or 23 or something like that. We had quite a very different risk profile, and so our growth was slow. At that time, we were only in New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland. A couple of stores in Queensland, so it was quite small still. We then got bought by a private equity company who had a different risk appetite, which allowed me to have a different risk appetite, and that plus then the relationship that we cemented with Maya allowed us to really grow. And once you grow and you can see the momentum from growth and you can see that you can achieve profitable growth, we then continue to grow. So we're now everywhere. But also the truth is it's a very complex business. We've got we've got small stores. There's hundreds of queues. We service a 0-year-old to an 8-year-old. We service 2 genders. We service 20 widths. We service 3 segments: school, sport, fashion. No other retail really concept in a store the size of ours has that, and so it is very challenging. And so people have tried to enter the market. Stride Right tried to enter the market. There've been a few others, and they can't make it work. It's from an inventory perspective, it's really nuanced, and that's also why, we have a point of difference when it comes to the Iconic or when it comes to Maya, because it is specialized. It is a niche. It is very much a niche.
And would Myers have given you that much opportunity if you were still a family business?
Probably not, because so much of the world is relationships and network. I don't know how we would have even established that initial connection, and even if they had it, we probably wouldn't have done it. So that is something has been a genuine upside out of, I guess, being run by a bigger entity.
Is there anything you miss about just having a small family business?
I miss the warehouse. Like, we used to all pick stock every day, all of us, always. And I like the tactile nature of that. We're now distanced from our stock, and none of us like that. All of the oldies who used to work there have an issue with that.
In 1987 to 2021, how has your physical stores changed? Because you just have shoes on the wall, organized, neatly presented, not very digital, and there's plenty of space here. So what did the stores look like in 1987?
Not very different, embarrassingly.
But it works.
They're a bit more modern, they're a bit more chic, but exactly, the basic display system of kids' shoes is what it is. There's not much you can do with it. And I guess in the future, we will continue to try and become more digital and to try and, the big thing is stock, right? When you've got 90 stores and you've got stock in 90 stores, you end up having a huge amount of inventory, which is one thing, but then also it ends up becoming very fragmented because it sells through in stores and then you don't have what you need in those stores. So if there were a way to, provide the customers with an experience of buying kids' shoes without having to have as much physical inventory in all those stores, there'd be huge benefits.
Do you think we'll ever be in a world where it'll be online only and there'll be no need for stores?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I'm amazed by the size and growth in online in our business because, we are such a service-based, fitting-based business, and I believe that is core of what we believe in. Like, we really believe properly fitted shoes are critical. We all get our kids' shoes fitted. Like, it's something that is core to, I guess, who we think, who we are and what we believe. So, any online business, the fact that our online business is so big amazes me. I do think, though, I've come to learn that there are different kind of customers, there are different preferences. Some people live physically remotely. There is a place for it for sure, especially omni-channel, when the customer can come in store after they've bought the shoe and try it on or return it or get that experience. But and some businesses I do believe can be online only, but I don't believe ours could. It's just, our stores are an anchor. They're the heart and soul of who we are.
Do you have any aspirations to take the business overseas?
Yes, pre-corona, pre-COVID, that was on the cards very much, and we were starting to look at and explore opportunities in Asia. I do think that, actually nowhere in the world has a model like we have. The US had Stride Right, which closed down, and it was similar in that it was kids' shoes, different because it was only single branded. The UK obviously has Clarks, but again, it's not a multi-brand aggregator, which is what we are. It doesn't exist. So there are opportunities, and definitely in Asia where there's just such good demographic, well there were, still are such good demographic trends for us, it's an opportunity. But taking a retail concept overseas is much more complex than taking a brand, because you've got training and service and like the heart and soul and culture of what you are, which you have to kind of facilitate in a different language. But yeah, it was on the cards, and yes, it still is on the cards when it's, I guess, becomes appropriate again.
Where is the retail market going in the next 3 years, and what are you doing now to plan for it?
It's a really, really good question.
What are you planning for?
We are planning within our business for quite monumental growth. I think the thing for us is
in bricks and mortar?
Just overall, yes, we're growing bricks and mortar. We've got probably we've probably got 20. We've only got 40 freestand stores. We've got a big profile across Maya, but we've got at least 30 centers, 40 centers that we can go into. We've got a really good model now for kind of C, D tiered centers, where we've got the right stock, partly thanks to Maya, and the right, I guess, capex and the right operating model to make them profitable at the right rentals, critical, the right rentals. And so that's an opportunity. And there is a need for we have opened, some stores in the last 24 months in these kind of centers that are working really well. So we will definitely grow bricks and mortar. And also, obviously, there's a huge amount more growth online. We both in terms of our own platform and third-party marketplaces, and also conceptually if we want to become a marketplace, because ultimately we've got so many brands that are always saying to us, we want to sell you more, we want to range more, and so that's another opportunity. So we are buying up, but also I think it's been, as I keep on saying, online is this really interesting hole when it comes to stock, because it's like, if you get the style right and the size curves right, it is like a bottomless pit of opportunity. And we are continuing to learn that, and as we are learning that, we are having to evolve the depth that we buy stock at, like to depths on a SKU that we would never have thought was possible. So we still have a huge amount of sales opportunity that we just aren't capitalizing on, because we're selling through things too fast in specific things. And I think, so I guess right now my challenge with my merchandise team is just like push it as much as you can, like think about where we're going and then add 20% and let's aim for that, because I do really believe there's in certain areas there is just so much potential.
What's your average store size?
Because we've got a whole lot of so many stores that we've had for like 30 years, literally we haven't moved sites, and so like we've got half of our store portfolio stores that we've had for 15 years, and they are smaller. They're probably around 70 to 85 square meters. The newest stores we're taking are around 100, 110.
Can you get any bigger?
Yes, we could get bigger. We could make, our stores aren't really like what we were saying earlier, our stores are pretty much shoes on a wall. We've just put the fitting bench that we are so comfortably sitting on in the middle of the store. Historically, like there's about 8 stores now that have got this model. Most of the
usually it's on the wall.
All of the old stores have it on the wall, but the thing is, we are all about having a community, and this is more communal. It's easier for our staff to greet customers as they walk in. It's this, our customers love to chat when the store gets busy, so it's easier for them to have that conversation. So this is just a much more, I guess, engaged model. Could get bigger. We could have more experiential, I guess, technology or kind of stations. We could do some cool things with different aged kids, but that would also make it a lot more expensive, and rent's a huge cost. So there'd have to be a cost, I guess, benefit.
Our local Shoes and Socks is in Malvern Central. And you go there after school, there's queues of people with hungry, screaming kids lined up, but your staff are always smiling.
Yeah.
And they're always happy, and these customers are almost okay with waiting. With 2,000 staff and 90 stores, how do you create that culture and training to be so consistent?
First of all, nothing's always, like we're not perfect. We do the best we can, and we are pretty good, but we've got room for improvement. But the honest truth is that I've got, I would say, the best regional team that you could have in retail.
So you've been born into retail, been around retail all your life. It seems like all you've ever done, right?
Well, I've been born into retail because obviously my parents owned a retail business, and I worked there many years when I was at school and university. No, but I'm a chartered accountant, and then I did an MBA, worked in hedge funds for many years, and only joined retail in 2010 when I had just got married. And I was living in Israel, returned to Australia, and I was like, am I going to go back into hedge funds? I'm going to have kids soon. It seemed a bit full on. So I was like, and also my parents, I guess, were at the size where they had grown this business to being an amazing 25-store network, but like not, I guess, technologically updated at all, and there was room to have someone in to help them.
So, in your opinion, from all your experience, what's the difference between a good retailer and a bad retailer?
The first thing is understanding your customer, really understanding who they are, what they want, what they need, and being genuine to that. You know, there's a temptation in retail and in everything to get bigger and broader and bigger and broader and capture more and more. And I think that just ends up diluting who you are. So it's about being true to who you are for your customer and really putting their needs first when it's reasonable, when you can. I think the second thing that's as important is your team. Like literally, it is your whether it's I think my team is exceptional from top to bottom in every single role, and we endeavor to. They all just live and breathe and love the business, and it's not about skill. It is about skill, but it's more about the attitude. You know, if you've got a team that are like that, they are all making the best decisions for the business all the time. And then the third thing is detail. Like we're not our head office team and our regional team. We're not like high level people. We are in every detail. We know everything about every detail of the business now, from 1 year past, 2 years past, and 10 years past. And so, I guess when you know the nuance and the detail of things, you can just be more syncretic in the way you operate. And that I think has really been huge for us, and also through Corona. Really, for me, was the standout that we were making decisions based on this really unfolding situation. We're making decisions, and then we were just so, I thought, it was so impressive how my team was then responding and re-responding and re-responding. We were so agile, and we were so kind of well grouped, even though we were physically distanced, working from home, in various states of chaos. It was that ability to kind of decision make as a whole and move as a whole really fast that I think is probably the most important thing.
For any landlords watching this, what would your message be to them on how to work better with your business and how to work better generally with retailers?
Yeah, I do think there is there is a divide. There's a great divide in a sense between landlord and retailers. It's
now more than before?
No, I don't know if it's now. I don't know if it's now that more than before overall. I feel that in the olden days, maybe because we were a small family business then, we definitely had a more engaged and integrated relationship with landlords than I personally do now. I also feel like, we are from a productivity perspective, our productivity is through the roof. So when we go to a landlord and say, our sales are down 2%, we really need a rebate, they say, well, everyone else in the center is down 20%, we're not interested. It's a bit about context. But I do think that centers are changing. They are going to become different entities in the future. And I do think it would be great if landlords and retailers could get together and say, what does it look like?
So you're married for about 13 years and you have 2 kids, but at the same time, you're part of this incredible growth journey. How did you manage to do all that?
Not easily.
You make it sound easy though.
No, not easy, not fluids, not
How old are your kids?
I've got a little girl who's turning 6 tomorrow. I'm missing her birthday because I'm in Melbourne. She's in Sydney, so that's how it goes. And I've got a 9-year-old, just turned 9. Yeah, it's a hard slog for women. It's not easy. You have to. I've constantly giving things up. I'm constantly juggling and balancing and feeling guilty, feeling like I'm not doing well enough. But also, I'm choosing to have this career. I want to have it. It's important for me, for my sense of self, and I've come to realize that actually I'm not a good mom when I don't have it, because I need to have my own stuff to be able to be, present. However, that doesn't help me when I'm, feeling guilty about missing a birthday or a school event or, this or that. Yeah, I don't really know if there's an answer to that question. You just make it work. It's life. It's an evolution. I'm getting, I'm trying to, every day I'm trying to take deep breaths and be calm at home and be present at work and make it work. Teach my kids that hard work's really important.
Lisa, thank you very much for taking time out of your precious life, personal and family life, to be here. It's been incredibly interesting to learn about your family business and the journey that business has been to, and talk to a retailer who literally dominates a market and does a really good job at it.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you for taking your time, and it's been really enjoyable.
Good.
Really enjoyed it.